Hello.
Hello!
Ah!
I feel like I haven't seen you in HD in a long time.
Yeah, you're in HD on mine.
Don't like it. How's everyone doing?
HD.
Yeah,
Good, thank you.
this is where I've been sitting for the last week and a half.
You haven't been leaving to do the dirty.
No, I haven't been doing much dirty. No dirty.
Oh. Ooh, dear.
So, hey,
Welcome.
we are Yumi at 6.
They know that.
They do know that, but
Yeah, they know that.
just in case they don't know.
Well, you've changed. Your hair colour's changed. They might not know who you are.
And yeah, they won't recognise you, but they'll know who we are.
They're sitting and go, who's Draco Malfoy in the back? So, for those who don't know, we are Yumi at 6, and we are doing a track by track of our brand new record, Sucker Punch. Shall we kick it off?
Let's do it, man.
Track 1.
The opener.
The opener, the all-important opener. The longest song on the album, pretty much.
One of them. The song is called Nice to Me.
Nice to me, yeah, it is. It's
And
correct.
I could say that, you know, this was probably one of the last songs in demo format that was written for the record before we went to Thailand. We kind of built the bones in my little home studio, and it was the intro, the verse, and the chorus idea, with no vocals, no melody, and no bridge, middle 8 section. It was.
It sounded like an opener. As soon as you heard it, it sounded like an opener. So, which was interesting because we didn't really have. I don't know what you guys say, but I don't think we had an obvious track that could have opened the record until this one sort of presented itself. And like, reality is that we didn't record this song till quite late on in the process. It was like one of the last songs we recorded, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was final week. You know, when you're in a studio and you've been working for 4 or 5 weeks, solidly long hours, you feel like you're creatively out of juice and you're like, I don't know what I've got left to give now in the studio space. But I think this song kind of gave us the energy for that final week just to go and smash it out and finish all the hard work we've been doing.
Starts off with the hype, doesn't it? It's like dan digga digga dan digga digga dan. It's such a good intro.
Yeah, also bridged the gap between a couple of sort of like the heavier tracks as well, which I thought was good. So maybe otherwise, you know, we were sort of missing another one with a bit of, you know, that to it. So it was nice to have, especially towards the end of the sort of recording process. Quite often you can do all like the energetic, exciting things first, and it starts to mellow out towards the end. So it was definitely nice to keep one with a bit of punch to it towards the end, like you said, to keep the energy up. And I think, yeah, it came together. I think it took you a little bit to get sort of like that chorus, Josh, and so we weren't really too sure how that was going to go. And then I remember you coming out actually into the pool area and just being like, right, lads, you come in and have a listen to this and tell me what you think.
I think Josh should explain the story of why it's called Nice to Me.
I didn't know how to present it because I thought you would all think I was taking the piss. But basically, one of the beautiful people that worked at Karma was a lady called Sa, and she was kind of like, I don't know, the mother of Karma. Would that be the right way of describing it? She was kind of,
Absolutely.
she was the one that led the way, and more often than not, if you asked her a question about anything to do with the studio or the accommodation, she'd be like, "Only if you're nice to me." And I was like, it's so funny that like
it became quite a catchphase, didn't it? Between even us lot, we would look at each other and like say things, and then we'd be like, "Only if you're nice to me."
100%. So it was so amazing when we actually played her and Chris back the record, and we like, this one's for you, and like just her reaction when she heard.
For anybody that doesn't know, we weren't playing it to Chris, as in Chris Miller from the band. We were playing it to a guy called Chris Craker, who owned Karma Studios.
In a way, it's nice to have a bit of Karma on the record, and another interesting thing I remember about this song was like, I actually kind of wrote a lot of like the lyric ideas or what I was going to write about whilst I was swimming in the pool, and Max was basically telling me how he had seen this track, because he started at the inception, he was writing it, and then literally that night went into the studio. I think Chris and Max were tracking guitars on it. I just sat in the back, just scribbling away, just thinking I was off in my little planet. it was weird because I don't usually write lyrics that quickly, but when I started writing the lyrics to that song, it came out within like 20 minutes. I was like, cool, done.
I think they're really clever lyrics as well. There's like all these sort of double meanings to everything as well. So like, although on the surface they might appear a certain way, when you really look into them, like even, you know, the line about sort of you want the juice, I'm in a white Ford Bronco kind of thing. It's actually quite a deep meaning behind it when you actually sort of delve into what you're trying to say there, like metaphorically. So I think it's really clever. Well done, mate.
Oh, thanks, mate.
I remember the pure excitement. Like Josh was right. I think we were tracking guitar, and I remember you just sitting. I think you had a few beers, and you were just gassed. You're like, bruv, I'm on fire. I'm writing this down. Can I do this? I don't care if I'm doing this or not. I'm doing it. And writing this lyrics down like that, and we're like, fair play. You've got the confidence in you. So
it was a fun one to do. But I also like the thing about that song that every time it comes out, that second chorus and goes like into that sort of interlude bit into like the drop down mid late, I just go, this is gonna fucking hit so hard. Like when
it's hard, isn't it?
That was part of the magic of Thailand though, because like, you know, when I presented the idea, it's like not taking all the fun away for all of us to have a bit of creative moment on that. And obviously I had a vision, like being like, we should go some of that crescendos and builds up and drops back down, like, you know, have that moment after you've just been like driving quite on edge, you like constantly just bopping your way through. It needed that moment just to slap and drop and have that dynamical shift. And I think that was, like I was saying, part of the fun of Thailand and being at Karma, that we all just jumped behind our instruments, right, and just like kind of just vibed it out. It was just like, right, let's build up, let's use these chords, and we all just kind of like, well, if we do this and we push on this moment, like, what is it, like half an hour, 40 minutes we did writing that bridge?
Yeah.
Well, the bridge section is actually two sections, isn't it? It's like the riff. It starts off with just playing the riff again. Then the bridge moves to like the second section, which is like the rise, like the chords building up and up and up. And then when you get to that final chord and go back to the riff, it's just like you feel like you've had like a huge new section when actually you've only had like a 15 seconds different few chords, but you feel like you've got that breath of fresh air that you want to get back to that riff immediately.
I like the fact also that, like, whilst we were making the record, we were kind of like teasing our fans that this was like the heaviest record we've done in a long time, like heavy, like, you know what I mean? And everyone will probably be like, yeah, sure, mate. And then they're going to put the record on and this is the first song they hear. It's like it's exactly what we said it was going to be.
Yeah,
definitely sets the tone.
When the live goes, and that sets it up.
And like you said as well, Max, it's good. I think you said driving, but you were using it in a different term. But also, if you're in your car driving, you know, and you stick this CD on, it's definitely a good one.
You'll probably be speeding by the end of the song.
Yeah, you might.
Hopefully not.
That was the inspiration behind it. It was trying to be cinematic. I was sitting there when I was trying to create the song, being like, I want to hear it in like a Guy Ritchie movie. I could imagine it being in Snatch. You know, like when like the rabbit and like the hare and the dog moment in Snatch, and it's having that chasing. So it's like something that kind of gets you on edge but bounces, and you're like, oh shit, this is gonna go somewhere. This is gonna blow. And that was like, you know, I think visualizing something that, when you visualize music and how you want it to be portrayed, I think it really helps you kind of get to the end goal.
It's quite nice as well that, like, although we use the word heavy, you know, it's like the drums are like closed hats. It's just like a driving beat. None of the guitars are like overly distorted. It's not heavy for the sake of just being like heavy. It's just, it feels that way. It's like, it's more like it's energetic, you know, rather than actually sort of being, it's not like it's metal or anything. It's just, it's got so much energy behind it, which I think it just makes the whole thing such an exciting listen. It's like fully one of my favorite tracks we've ever written, let alone just on this album.
I was going to say, I think this is probably my favorite track on the record so far, because every time I put on the record, I'm like, oh, sick. What an opener. Like, and it just gets me in the mood for the record straight away.
You can feel it opening a set as well. Like, it's already the type of one where you go, right, well, that's definitely going to be played live for sure. And that's going to be one of, you know, hopefully when we get back to touring, it'll be, you know, first song of the set. You can imagine extending out that intro, having the lights and smoke, and extending the middle eight and just making real moments of it. I mean, the next thing, it'll be a 6-minute long intro track and people will be like, what the fuck just happened, you know?
Make Me Feel Alive this is actually kind of one of the few songs in the album that I really have a very vivid memory of, kind of how and what happened. I don't know what happened in the inception, but I remember walking into Dan your house and going to the studio, and like you and Max just playing us this thing you'd done, and us all been like, oh, this is fucking nuts.
Yeah, let's do it right now.
Well, I think it was even, it was just like the day before, I think Max had come over and he's like, I've got this riff idea, I want to kind of take it in this direction. And I was just like, I think I've got some ideas.
I said to you, I'm not a drummer, I can't do this. I've got an idea, but I can't, instead of just being like simple drum beat, like my first drum beat, I was like, it needs to be mid, it needs to be like breakbeat-esque, didn't I?
Yeah, so that was it. Sort of, he said that. We listened to a few tracks by a few other people, and we were just like, okay, I think we know where to take it. And I remember sort of listening back and going, I mean, it's pretty sort of out there and punky. I wasn't really too sure if everyone else was going to be like, yeah, cool, whatever, yeah, nice idea, put that in the pile. And then actually it was so nice to see like everyone come in and go, oh my God, let's do it now. This is going to be great. And like, obviously it's kind of set the tone for the record. It's the first song that was heard, really.
I think we knew exactly what to do with it, didn't we? We literally heard it, said, let's do this right now. Everyone got on their instruments, and within sort of half an hour we had a structure, and we're like, I remember us all saying, well, it's only 2 minutes, and we're like, well, it doesn't need to be any longer. Like, it does everything we want it to do. It's a statement, it's a release, it's heavy, and it was just something completely new that we hadn't really touched on before. But then when Josh started shouting, singing, whatever you want to call it, over the top, like, it's just that power was just like, you can't deny that. So it's really, really cool, wasn't it?
Yeah, and like in addition to that, like again, it was one of those where like everything that you hear on the record is what was written in that session, in that sort of half an hour, 45 minutes. Everything, every note, every word, every like, and it's sometimes those songs are like, they're the ones that bring the most joy because obviously they're easy, but then it's also like when you realise that the synergy within a group of musicians, like in this case ourselves, it's such it's one of those, you can't really put your finger on as to why that happens, why it can be so easy at times and so difficult at times. But I just want to touch on the fact that Dan used to say something interesting there about like, people came in and like, you know, you weren't sure people were going to like it or because it was too punky or whatever. And I think actually that what has happened a lot on this record, at least from my perspective in it, is that every song that has been put on this record are songs that we've all gone, oh fucking I haven't really done that before. That's scary. It's almost like every time we've been like scared of, in a good way of doing something, the songs have really like flourished in that sense. And Make Me Feel Alive is definitely a testament to that kind of spirit of the record of like, fuck it, if we want to make an angry punk rock song and put it on this record, we're going to do it. And if you don't like it, you can eat one. So and you can eat Make Me Feel Alive as the thing you put in your mouth and eat. So yeah, it's definitely, it's full of fucking full of balls.
Which is what we're all about. We've been doing that for so many records, like especially on Sinners Never Sleep. Like some of the songs that were on that, people were just like, "What the fuck have you done here?" It's just like we've never sort of thought, "Oh, that song's too different to what we sort of started as a band." We've just gone, "Nah, we like it."
It was nice as well to make it. It was really freeing, like actually recording the song, because often when you record in a studio, you're sort of searching for perfection or for something to sound like really well done. Whereas this song was sort of the opposite. It was like, make it sound as shit as we possibly could, but good shit. You know, it's hard to capture that sort of 5 dudes in a garage playing a punk song. So like that was a real challenge and something that.
It's like the last thing a producer wants to hear, isn't it? Last thing a producer wants to hear is like, just make it sound shit. Yeah, we don't want it to sound too good, you know. But it's definitely, I think it carried across that vibe, and I think it brings in
mixing like punk.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly what I was about to say, because it's got some of the electronics on there as well. It's made it feel like it was contemporary rather than it being dated. I think, anyway, personally, but. I know as well, like it being track 2, I think we were always sort of there thinking, okay, after you've had this long epic journey of Nice to Me, it's such a sort of punch to the gut, or a sucker punch, as you'd say, to have Make Me Feel Alive as track 2.
So guys, next one on the album is Beautiful Way. I get the impression that this is a song that we all really kind of knew from the outset that we were going to enjoy putting together, and we kind of all knew what we were doing, and it felt kind of familiar, but at the same time it had lots of space for us to kind of give it a new twist.
I thought the first thing I noticed was the lyrics, like obviously like the message behind the lyrics just sort of hits you straight away, you know, we're fucked up in a beautiful way. It really kind of sums up sort of how society and how everyone in life was feeling at that time, and also probably feeling this past year with everything that's gone on. I think, you know, it really sort of sums up a great story. So that was sort of what I first noticed. Like, it felt familiar, and it felt like a great sort of You Me at 6 track. And I think everyone, probably I speak for everyone, and I say, like, as soon as you heard it, we're like, okay, cool, yeah, we know what we can do with that kind of thing, because we've been doing it a while. But it felt like it was still fresh and new, and it was relevant, and yeah, it was exciting to hear. Really, anthemic was probably the word I would have used when I very first heard it.
Yeah, I remember just hearing the opening riff and like going through it and just be like, okay, this is interesting. Like, when you hear a song for the first time, you're sort of getting your head around it, and you're sort of asking questions, being like, oh, where's this going? What's the mood? Like, what can I do to this? And then suddenly, like, the chorus dropped, and I remember literally like all those thoughts going out the window and just being like, fuck me, that's a chorus. Like, I just heard that with like the more like robotic drums behind it, sort of D&B influence, and yeah, the guitars and like the little runs, and just hearing that, I was just like jumping around the room being like, fuck me, that's a chorus. And,
yeah, that was why it was so exciting, wasn't it? It's that
yeah.
drum and bass vibe that it brought to it that we've sort of never done before. That was like a totally different thing. We always send around like songs to each other, and most of the time it's just like, yeah, like sick tune. But I remember when Josh and Max sent this one over and it got into the inbox, and I listened to it, and I like literally first time I heard the chorus, I was just like, fucking hell, yes.
I think we all
like
texted
buzzing off this
straight
one.
away.
I was just like, lads, lads, this is it. Let's record it tomorrow. Fuck. How
I think that's it. Sometimes, like, when you've been in the room and you've written the track, or like written the initial sort of idea or whatever, because you're so close to it, you're always questioning, like, well, I like it, but is that just because I've been involved from the start? And you're too close to it to really know. So it's always a great thing when other people hear it and are like, yes, like this is gonna be like sick. So
yeah.
I think
like
it's
10 minutes later, everyone's replying, going, shit, man, this is sick.
No criticism, no advice, no like notes, literally just like, this is sick, let's do it.
Yeah. And I think it also is one of those things, like, from the initial word go, sort of like when that verse lyric first comes in, it's almost quite spine tingling, and you're like, love is a drug, but it never comes with a warning and all that. You're there, like, you're hooked already, you know. You're sort of like, well, that sets the tone for the track, like, what an amazing song this could be. What did it feel like for you guys when you were sort of first initially coming up with the ideas?
It took a couple of days in the session that Josh and myself were doing, but, you know, we got to the chords, and it was like the chords were, you know, like every great song, it's 4 chords, you know, starts off that way. And it was then like, well, how can we make these 4 chords feel different in a verse and then a chorus, you know, if it's going to be the same all the way through? So it was just finding inversions. I think I started playing the arpeggio riff at the start, Josh, right? And you went, that's really cool. That sounds like...
Yeah, it reminded me of Mr. Brightside, and I was like, I fucking love that song, so let's rip that off, basically.
Fuck's sake.
And I think, like, with that, we're talking about things, so I think that's where the lyrics came from as well. It was, we painted the picture from the start. It wasn't like, here's the chorus and we'll write the verses afterwards. It started at the start of the song, and it was a journey into the sections, you know. So, and it
I remember also we were outside, and I was like, if you remember, we had another chorus.
Yeah, it was halftime. It was a halftime chorus, wasn't it?
The halftime chorus, and I was like, this is ruining the vibe for me. Like, we need to have, and we were like going back to that age-old thing that Dave Grohl said in when he was writing Foo Fighters songs about tempo and like imagining the crowd jump, and I was like, we need to match the intensity of what the lyrics are saying, and we need to have a thing of everyone's jumping in unison, hopefully, you know, when we can gig again, screaming these words at each other, because it's going to be their mantra, you know, it's going to be their ethos, and how they kind of recognize themselves as being fucked up in a beautiful way. So what we need is a thing. And then we were like, well, let's just fucking gets.
I remember turning around to you and just going, I've been listening to drum and bass. I think me and Matt were talking about drum and bass music at that point in being. And I went back through some old records. And then I was like, let's just fucking go drum and bass in the chorus. If we want energy, listen to drum and bass. That gives you energy. And it also...
I was on a big drum and bass hype as well, and I just remember like that coming at the right time. I was just so stoked on it. I was like, yeah, definitely.
But it was like genre mashing as well, like taking influences of what we liked and maybe, like you said before, going into territories that aren't familiar. So putting a drum and bass beat on a...
Well, the best two parts of every song, isn't it, Matt, really? The drums and the bass, so...
Obviously, the most important.
Yeah.
Topped off with the vocal, mate.
Yeah, vocal comes third. Third.
Yeah, vocal said. But no, I think we managed to pull it off in the thing I kind of really enjoy about Beautiful Way is that we managed to pull off all these different things that Max is talking about, this genre mashing stuff, but it feels tasteful. It doesn't feel like, now this section is this section, do you know what I mean?
It's not like an awkward collab that you sometimes get. It's just like mashing two things together for the sake of it.
Yeah,
definitely. This one was the little secret agent, wasn't it? It came round pretty late in the recording process while we're in Thailand.
Well,
I remember me and you were just chatting about music, weren't we, Josh? And sort of listening to some of this, like just different styles of music, and we were just chatting. And I know that you went off and had a couple of ideas running in your room, and then I went off into my room and had a couple of ideas on the go, and it worked out that when we brought them together, they were in the same key and in the same kind of style, and then we just sort of mashed together so perfectly. And Josh came over into my bedroom,
Studio
D, and we had a few beers that night, and the next thing we pretty much had the whole of what you're doing right now kind of done, really.
When you said you had a few beers, I remember that after we finished our session, right, Matt and Chris, and we walked into the room and be like, what they doing? I remember there was just empty beer cans scattered all around the room, being like, so I think you had more than just a few beers.
I think we were up until about 2 or 3 in the morning, I think, and then the next thing we were like, everyone come in my room, and everyone's just like sat on my bed all together, weren't you? And then I'm like, right, listen to this. And we were like, basically, we think that we should record it tomorrow. And everyone was like, right, okay, let's hear it, sort of thing. But luckily, everyone liked it.
It's a song on the record that definitely feels like Unit 6 flexing its muscles in a way that I don't think we ever have really before. The essence of it is like, do we have a good chorus? And if we've got a good chorus, then we can sort of have some fun with the other areas.
Yeah. Well, I think the pre came first when we were in my bedroom, wasn't it? When we were sort of going through truth. You want to know the truth? All that part of it is sort of was something that we just kept singing over and over again, and then you sort of developed it later down the line, and then you sort of came up with the chorus later down the line, which we knew that like that was almost the essence of a chorus part, and then it sort of when it goes big, it was just about sort of keeping up that energy, wasn't it?
It's one of those songs as well that's like really heavy without being heavy. It's almost like a wave of like bass and feeling. It's not like big riff, big guitar, big chords. It's like mostly electronic, and I think that's why it sounds so different to anything we've done before, but it still carries that same sort of essence of a heavier song like we usually do.
And I distinctly remember us messing around, crying on the floor with laughter for about half an hour, just because we put the auto tune to 100% and we were just sat there singing trap songs, going, oh, like, I remember us doing that for a while. So like,
that's actually how we got the melody for that pre-bit, was like just from ballsing around with that, and I was just like, what? But loving it at the same time, shirt off.
But that's what it was about. That it was just about us two sort of having a laugh in that room one evening, and it was exciting. I think the fact that like one of the songs could be written out there, and then a day or two later you're going into the big studio and recording it, and it comes alive. You're sort of thinking, oh my god, that didn't even exist a day ago.
It sort of mirrors some of the stuff we were like listening to in the evenings as well. Like, not to name any particular names, but like when we're in the pool, sort of listening to more dancey, more current music, as sort of like a mood setter for us having a good time. That sort of mirrors into what you're doing right now, I think, as well. That's sort of got that feel about it.
You just reminded me of my favourite like hip hop and R&B pop songs I've heard over the last 10 years, and I found that was really interesting. Even to record this song was going at a different angle where it wasn't big guitar. It was a trashy guitar playing the intro chords and then really playing guitar, really simple guitar melodies that we made sound like old samples, which is a totally different approach to how I'm used to playing guitar. So it was nice to be challenged in a new way that it felt new and it felt exciting to play something like that.
That's what's kind of cool about when like those kind of ideas come alive, is that sort of you never really need to overthink parts, because everyone, you know, you just sort of like, we can lay down ideas and then everyone else, because you know we've done this for so many years and everyone's actually sort of so good at their instruments now that you feel comfortable being like, great, I know in my head, like we're sat there on the computer going, Barnes is going to come in and smash something here, Max, everyone else, you know, Chew's going to come in and just smash something there. You can sort of just like lay down ideas, and then we have so much confidence in each other then to be able to sort of take it to that next level, which is always, you know, it's just testament of 5 people that have been playing music for so long.
Absolutely. It's also about the way we recorded it as well, because so many other albums we've done, it's been like record the drums, record the bass, record the guitars, record the vocals, whereas it costs a bit more money to keep the big studio going. But if you can do song by song and do drums for that song and then bass for that song, then it's just like we wouldn't have been able to do this song if we didn't have that set in motion, you know, like when we did Cavalier Youth, we had to do the drums because of the budget. We just had to get it done in the big room early on. We didn't have the option to do that for that album. So it's just so nice to have the freedom and the escape and the creative place to be doing shit like this that we've never done before.